hinged knee brace. This is where the problem comes. And he used it for several weeks until he healed. So he expected his insurance to cover his treatment, as a plan from a previous bill covered him when he needed surgery to fix a broken nose. Again, in another soccer game. Maybe he should take up a different little, sport.
Throwing.
So he's 41 years old, and, he's trying to make a living. He got his family. The total bill was $1,197, $210 for the office outpatient visit, $105 for the x-ray, $882 for the hinged knee brace, all billed by the orthopedic practice. His insurance company, Aetna, negotiated only $52.59. It cracks me up every time they come up with the cents, off the cost of the brace. That left Mr. Serrano with a balance of $829 for that brace. I could have told Mr. Serrano to go on Amazon. He could find that same brace for a couple $100. Because he didn't meet his $3,000 deductible bill for the year, so he had to pay the freight on the brace. Long story short, he ends up having to pay for this brace, $829.41. Now, he said that he did go online and he found one for less than $250. I was close. The bill came around Christmas time, and they needed the money. I mean, they're making ends meet, and so he got stuck paying the bill. That's a lot of money. And now, some doctors would say you don't need a hinged brace for support. It's not going to make that much of a difference. You can debate that, whatever you want to do. My point is this. He said he could afford to pay it. And fortunately, he could afford to pay it. Many people can't. And so what's happened with this medical insurance business, which is a train wreck over and over again. It's a mess. And people, they're at their wits' end. They don't know what to do. The premiums are off the chain. They discriminate against somebody who's had a pre-existing condition. They end up paying 200, 300, 400 times more for insurance than some other people who don't have a pre-existing condition. So it goes on and on. There's one issue after another. I've said on this show, and I'm on record, you mark my words, there will come a day when there will be a single-payer insurance in this country. That day is going to come. Why? Because this is not sustainable. I don't need to be in the insurance business to figure this out. People can't afford it. There's no way they can afford it. And people are dying because they can't afford insurance. Insurance is not a luxury. It's a necessity. And people should be able to have access to insurance that they can afford. I'm not saying it should be given away. And one payer is not a giveaway. We will pay for it. And there'll be some modification, maybe a single payer with the ability to have a supplemental plan or be private insurance. But it's going to come. And the politics involved in this is disgraceful. These politicians, I don't know what they're doing. But at the end of the day, they don't have the individual out there struggling. There are people out there that live paycheck to paycheck, man. And even getting the flu puts them in a ditch because they have to go to a walk-in clinic or they can barely pay it. And people who can afford it, that's not on their mind so much. You raising a family with kids, I'm very sympathetic to this. You can call me whatever name you want to call me. All I know is that people should be entitled and find a way to, to be able to get insurance so that they can, get themselves taken care of. And the bill, I don't know. That's just that's just a knee brace. Don't get a chronic disease where you're laid up in the hospital. Once you end up in the hospital, forget about it. You could walk out of there they can burn a $250,000 easily with some chronic disease where you're laid up, one test happened. Oh, please. $100,000? Oh, easy. My God, you go into an emergency room, you can walk out of there with a $15,000, $25,000 bill. There's something wrong. Not right. It's just not right. I don't know if it's greed. I don't know if it's incompetence. I don't know what it is. I'm not expert enough to sort that stuff out. But all I do know is that people deserve, it's a necessity. And everybody should be able to have insurance. We will pay for it. Everybody needs to pay, no matter how much you make. Whatever it's all prorated. Depending on how much you make, you kick in. And I get that. I'm not saying it's a freebie. No, I don't believe in freebies. Everybody pays. I don't care if you're making $15,000, $150,000, or $150 million. If you're only making $15,000, they prorated and you put in your little percentage, whatever. Or if you're making $150 million, they prorated and you kick it in. That's how I see it. You may disagree, but that's okay. Trust me, if you get severely ill and you need medical care and you can't get it and you will die without it, all of a sudden the view of the sunset changes. Gary's shaking his head. I just wanted to lay that out there. It's part of health, wellness, and well-being. It's so politically charged. I'm even reluctant to say what I said because I'm afraid to alienate people. But that's how I see it. And ask the elderly, people on a fixed income that can barely make it. They're scared to death to get sick. They would rather just, pass away and not have to deal with it. Let's talk nutrition. So my point of view on this is that your house of health is built on the foundation of your gastrointestinal health. I don't think you vehemently disagree with that, do you?
Not at all.
Uh-huh.
Not at all.
What's breaking news at Jarrow Formulas with respect to probiotics? I know that you guys are working on stuff.
Well, breaking news is that we're trying to dispel a lot of the crap, honestly. I mean, I don't know another way to put it, that's going on out there in the probiotics industry.
Misinformation.
It's pretty disconcerting. Yes, it's misinformation, and it's nothing but lies. And we're really working very hard and very diligently to dispel all of the misleading marketing that's going on, and we're trying to make it known what a consumer really should be looking for.
Okay, that you were reading my mind. Go ahead.
Mm-hmm. So, again, everybody's trying to reinvent the wheel when it comes to probiotics. Everybody wants to have like a new and better and blah, blah. But the bottom line is, it's like no matter how many different diets come out, nothing's going to take the place of eating good, wholesome fruits and vegetables, getting the proper amount of sleep and exercise, et cetera, et cetera. No matter how many different diets come out with and you want to twist and turn, the basics still apply. And it's the same thing with probiotics, where the basics still apply. So we're talking about strains that have made it through the manufacturing process, strains that have been chosen to actually make the connection between the probiotic strains and the scientific research and the safety as well as human health benefits that have been substantiated by clinical research. So all of these things, we're going to put that aside. We're going to assume that all of those are lined up. But one of the things that's going on in our industry is, and we talked about this the last time we talked about probiotics, is something that we call, and this is what it's known to us that are in the industry, as cheap filler strains. They're generic strains.
Cheap filler strains.
They have no cheap filler strains, and they're used to boost the counts of probiotics so that companies can charge more money because their product supposedly contains very high amounts of whatever they're claiming on their label, whether it's 100 million, 600 billion, blah, blah. But here's what's really interesting. So Consumer Labs, which is the testing body for our industry, examine probiotic products and have found that 70 to 80% of samples tested do not measure up to their label claims. That half of the tested samples didn't even have 10% of the live microorganisms listed on the label.
How do they get away with that?
Exactly.
Who's policing that? Who's policing that?
Okay, so then when people ask me, are probiotics regulated by the FDA? So the statement is, we are bound by the DSHA. Remember DHE, DSHA. So in that, we are bound by truthful and not misleading statements. That is what our contract is supposed to be, which is why in our industry it's so strict not to make health claims. You're not supposed to make outrageous health claims.
Well, the FDA monitors that, but go ahead.
Right, and so they're getting away with it now for as long as they can because, like you said, it's not about the money. Of course it's about the money. So I'm going to make as much money as I can until the FDA comes and closes my doors or tells me I have to, check my labels.
So when you talk about strains and genera and all that, that's just not tedium terminology. That really does the strain does make a difference, right?
You are hitting on a very, just an emphatically important point. And I'll give you an example. Okay, so Kobe Bryant, he's a great basketball player, right?
Mm-hmm.
You and Kobe are genetically very similar. So is Gary.
I don't know. I've seen Doc throw up baskets. No.
So here's the question. Who would you rather have? If I can have 2 Michaels and 2 Garys or 1 Kobe Bryant, who would you rather have on your basketball team?
Kobe Bryant, hands down.
Hands down, right? So you're genetically very similar, but yet you're very different as to what you can actually do.
Right.
And it's the same thing with probiotic strains. So they're genetically very similar, but actually the same strain within a species actually can be quite divergent. And so it's important to really, really pay attention to strain designation.
So how does the everyday person sort that out? I mean, you study it, you work through it, you have your little list. How does somebody walking into a health store, what do they need to have in their head about strains and genera and this?
They need to have a phone or an iPad or something where they can log on to PubMed.com. Because here's what's really scary. So we've been preaching strain designation and the importance for years and years and years and years and years.
Mm-hmm.
Strain designation means that the end of the strain, whether it's a Lactobacillus plantarum, we'll say that hypothetically, has the number at the end, 299V, for example. Okay? That's a very specific plantarum strain. What companies are doing, and this is what's really scary, is they're making up strain designation numbers. I kid you not.
You mean they're just
random numbers?
Random numbers.
Yeah. Yeah, random.
They mean nothing.
Yeah, hey, let's call this, VP blah, blah, blah. And it has nothing.
Means nothing.
Means nothing.
Well.
Means absolutely nothing.
That's despicable. So when we come back, Dominique will tell you from Jarrow Formulas what you can expect to find on the label, what you can expect to be taking. And I'll just quickly revisit what exactly is a probiotic. We'll come back.
Don't be stressed out or anxious. Take
And welcome back. Welcome to Let's Talk Nutrition. Dominic Ostrander's my guest. We're talking about probiotics and why it's important to understand what all these, the issue of strains, what kind of strain is the probiotic in the product that you're taking? What are the strains? And are they properly labeled and numbered? Or has a company just made it up? Dominique, welcome back. You read that definition of a probiotic. I had it, and then I didn't. Somehow I deleted it. I was going to quote the exact definition from the WHO. Do you have that handy?
I do.
Could you read it, please? Could you read it? And I have a question.
Yes. Live microorganisms that, when administered in adequate amounts, confer a health benefit to the host.
Okay. Given that definition, if a person eats a container of yogurt, have they satisfied that definition?
Okay, so to answer your question, in spite of the existing scientific consensus, there is no legal definition of the term probiotic, which allows the marketing of products labeled as probiotics, like yogurt, that do not meet the actual fundamental criteria stipulated in the scientific definition to then use the word probiotic.
So the answer is?
Does it contain live active cultures? No. It does not contain the true scientific definition of a probiotic. It contains live active cultures, but it doesn't contain probiotics, because probiotics, once again, are live microorganisms that, when administered in adequate amounts, we have to know exactly what that amount is.
So there
for a host benefit.
So there are cultures. What's the difference between? Okay, so there are no probiotics in the yogurt. There are cultures in the yogurt.
Right, live active cultures, exactly. So they have a benefit, like sauerkraut or buttermilk or kombucha. All of those have live active cultures, fermented foods. We know that those have a benefit for gut bacteria.
But
we know those are healthy for the gut, but they don't. But we can't say, okay, well, 6 tablespoons of sauerkraut a day reduces the inflammation associated with ulcerative colitis. We haven't figured that out yet.
As I understand it, live and active cultures refer to living organisms, Lactobacillus bulgaricus, and Streptococcus thermophilus, which convert pasteurized milk to yogurt during fermentation. All yogurts are required to be made with these two cultures. Is there anything untrue in what I just said?
No.
Okay. But would you be better off to eat a container of yogurt or to take the recommended dose from one of the premium probiotic products from Jarrow Formulas? Or does it make a difference?
Well, okay, I don't think it's an or. If we're not having to choose, and we're not like having to make this very vital decision of, do I eat yogurt or take a probiotic, I think you should do both.
Of course.
I think you should do both, because they're not really related in terms of health benefits. For example, Jarrow Formulas makes a probiotic Ideal Bowel Support. Okay, it's nothing but one strain, so we're not complicating things here. It's a Lactobacillus plantarum 299V. There is extensive studies with 299V with patients with irritable bowel syndrome with C. So it's irritable bowel syndrome with constipation, because IBS comes in 3 diagnoses, right? IBS-C with constipation, IBS-D with diarrhea, or IBS-C/D where it vacillates between the two. So LP299V was studied in patients with hypomotility, which is constipation, and increased motility. So here's the other thing. So again, what we talked about with Kobe Bryant, there are other Lactobacillus plantarums out there, not 299V, other Lactobacillus plantarums. And so it's very important to understand that the 299V strain was the one that was studied for hypomotility and increasing motility and desensitizing pain pathways in patients with IBS, showing profound anti-adherence benefits, prevention of translocation of pathogenic bacteria. 299V did that. And that's my point. So you don't want to just look for, oh, well, I need to find something with Lactobacillus plantarum. No. You need to find something with Lactobacillus plantarum 299V, if that's what you're looking for help with constipation and bloating and things like that. It's very strain specific.
So
again,
people trying to treat or practitioners trying to treat a particular digestive order or disease, disorder or disease, you just can't say eat a container of yogurt, that's going to take care of it, because it's got live microorganisms in it. It may need to be more targeted and more probiotic specific in the treatment. Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely.
So one probiotic doesn't address all digestive disorders and diseases.
That's absolutely correct. They're very strain specific, and we've talked about this on the air before. So there are many, many different kinds of lactobacillus strains, for example. And here's what's interesting. Some are actually pro-inflammatory. Wouldn't you want to know if your company put together all these strains and if they've actually tested them and know that are these strains actually pro-inflammatory? Are they perpetuating antibiotic resistance? I mean, wouldn't you want to know that? So I always say use the brand that's used in hospitals. We are trusted worldwide among hospitals and very sick patients, including with preemies. Jarrow Formulas has earned bragging rights. Jarrow Rogovin founded the IPA. The International Probiotic Association is the global governing voice for probiotics worldwide. Probiotics is what we do. We do them exceptionally well, and no matter how many companies out there are going to come around and try and reinvent things and talk about how they have this delivery system and blah, 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 the bottom line is what's in the capsule. Look on the box. I say this all the time when I'm doing trainings. Look on the box for the asterisk, because the asterisk says at the time of manufacturing. Jarrow doesn't have an absolution of responsibility like that on their when we create a product. We guarantee potency from the day Sally Shopper takes it to the day that product expires. The majority of companies out there will asterisk their boxes or bottles and say at the time of manufacturing. And it absolves them of what actually is in their capsule.
Yeah, because they may ship it, and during shipment they may be shipped in hot trucks, no refrigeration. I mean, it could be anything could happen from the time it leaves the plant till it gets to the store and whatever happens in the store.
Or it might not even be that, Dr. Garka. It might actually be that the strains that they chose can't make it through the manufacturing process all the way till expiration. They might make it for a week out of manufacturing, but then beyond that, they're like, well, you know what? This is why we put the asterisk on there.
So they put compromised, those are compromised probiotics. We'll be back.
Want to get at the core issues that make weight loss so difficult? Try PGX.
for the day. If nothing else, you certainly get a sense and a flavor for how complicated this business about probiotics is, and that you just can't walk into a health store and grab something that says probiotic on the bottle and be assured that, one, it even contains the strains that it says it contains, and whether or not those things are alive in there anyway. Which leads me to my question. It's a simple true and false. We gave you the answer a couple of times today. According to the World Health Organization, probiotics are live microorganisms which, when administered in adequate amounts, confer a health benefit on the host. Is that statement true or false? Probiotics are live microorganisms which, when administered in adequate amounts, confer a health benefit on the host. Is that the definition that the World Health Organization gave to probiotics? True or false?
877-897-8255. That's 877-897-TALK.
What's the name of the man? He lives in Montreal. He works for Jarrow. I don't know if he still does.
Silvano.
Silvano
Arnaldo.
What's his last name?
Arnaldo.
Yeah, Silvano. He used to be on a lot over the years at one point, and he came on. All he talked about was probiotics. I learned from him how
he's a probiotic man.
He's a probiotic expert. You do pretty good yourself, by the way. He I learned a lot from him. If nothing else, I learned from him that this business about probiotics is really complicated. It's not. You really got to know your science here, and the poor consumers at the mercy of these companies, who some of whom you have pointed out are without scruples.
Without any scruples, and the other part of that is, besides the fake strain identification, the asterisk, we've heard on the sales floor countless times, well, we don't list what our strains are because we don't want anybody to copy our product, which is absurd. Okay, I can't even begin to tell you how that is so absurd, because in our industry, when you have nothing to hide, you have nothing to hide. Mm-hmm. And Jarrow has come up with many proprietary blends. Our Bone Up, which is an outstanding blend, every single thing in the exact amounts is listed on the label. Neuro Optimizer, Glucose Optimizer, Pressure Optimizer, every single probiotic that we have, everything is listed. You get exactly what the label claims. So when a company comes along and says, we don't want to put exactly what's in our product, and they just give you what we call, again, cheap filler strains, without strain identification numbers, without the breakdown, it's because they don't actually have the information.
Yeah, transparency is the watchword here. If they're not when you start seeing proprietary blend, perhaps on a probiotic product, maybe you should put that back, huh?
For sure.
Go to reach for Jarrow formulas. Mention a couple of the products, please.
Jarrodophilus, allergen-free, completely allergen-free, shelf-stable. We have it in the refrigerator as well. Lactobacillus plantarum 299V, again, formulated for hypomotility, gas and bloating. Our infant Babydophilus, our infant drops, Yum Yum Dophilus, of course, our Jarrodophilus for women, which is one of my favorites. Our Femdophilus, Saccharomyces boulardii plus MOS. JD Mood, our Jarrodophilus Mood. Oh my gosh, the list.
Which one was it for gas and bloating?
Ideal Bowel Support.
Ideal Bowel Support. That would work for a lot of people. You know.
For sure.
Do yourself and do others a favor. Let's go to St. Petersburg, Florida. Gene, welcome to the show. It's great to have you on.
Thank you.
How are you today?
Pretty good.
All things considered?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that definition I read from the World Health Organization about probiotics, was that a true statement, or according to the WHO, or a false statement?
True, I believe.
It is true. Dominique, read that definition again, please.
Live, right, this is from 2001. Live microorganisms that, when administered in adequate amounts, confer a health benefit to the host.
Live. Notice the word live and adequate amounts. Those critters have to be alive in that bottle. These are living organisms. People don't realize that. This is not an inert product. These are live microorganisms. And so, this is interesting. You tell somebody, I want you to go to the health store and get some bacteria, and I want you to consume some bacteria. They look at you like you're crazy. Then you try to explain to them what you mean. Gene, congratulations. You won a $25 supplement gift card. We thank you for listening, and thank you for calling the show today.
Well, thank you for the gift card.
Oh, no, kidding. It's our pleasure. I know you're down there in St. Pete. We cover a lot of territory on this show, and I know sometimes it gets a little complicated. We try to sort it out for you. I hope we do that. But if any time you have a question about your health or an issue or whatever, don't hesitate to call me.
Okay.
All right. You're not by yourself out there, for sure. Anybody. I know many of you live alone, and many of you are probably not 100%. You're struggling with certain health issues. I know how difficult that can be. You can always call this show. And if I can't give you an answer, I know somebody who can. And I get it. Trust me. I understand. I'm with you 100%. Full stop. You're not alone. And I know many of you listen because you are looking for insight. You're looking for guidance. You're looking for the truth as it can be known. I don't know about truth with a capital T. That's for the Almighty to know. But I'll tell you the truth as I know it, and the guest such as Dominique Ostrander will do the same. Dominique, thank you for coming on today, educating the audience about probiotics, Jarrow Formulas probiotics, and why they're really special. You can find these products in fine health stores throughout North America. Your health is your wealth, and your health is the wealth of those that care about and love you.
Everyone's raving about the newest botanical superstar hitting the store shelves nationwide. Hemp-derived cannabidiol, or CBD, has been receiving a lot of attention